When Frank and I first arrived on the set, everything appeared to be in order, but suddenly, "Who is she?" they asked me after glancing at me, and a police unit and a CPN arrived shortly after. A 5-person crew and a security team barged in to set up communications. It was evident that this was not a typical day that morning in the serene Danielle Colby's mobile refuge. The notorious bus in the Nashville suburbs was unexpectedly encircled by FBI agents. There were no media cameras or public alerts, just a "what were they looking for, and why," using a federal search order and a covert operation. Remember to post a comment with 1 if you feel sympathy for Danielle Colby, or 0 if you don't. Viewpoint. Please make sure to like and subscribe to our channel if you're keen to learn the truth. Next, what was found within not just puzzled the team conducting the inquiry, but also left the whole American Picker crew who had spent years working with Danielle in complete shock. And among the things were a bizarre mask without a mouth or sound that was never documented into any production records gadget that uncannily mimicked Frank Fritz's speech and a computerized map identifying 7 lethal sites connected from the enigmatic symbol to the funds transferred through a front firm. Every hint appeared to lead to unresolved cases. Discover a secret, unknown tale. So what actually happened in that bus? Why didn't any members of the American Pickers team speak up about the incident? And is Danielle Colby just a touring performer? Or does she conceal the bus itself with a darker secret? No typical high-performance car. Danielle Colby's 1973 GMC bus was brought back to life at a private store in Chicago that costs more than $89,000 as an artwork in and of itself. The fantastical exterior has whirling shades of orange, turquoise, and purple that combine to form a living painting. On one side, the words, "House of Moxie," are emblazoned, acting as a personal message to the audience as well as an artistic catchphrase. The audience of American Picker. The bus epitomizes uniqueness, timeless design, and artistic independence. But for those, Danielle and I are working behind the scenes in this mysterious and a little unnerving location. The inside is divided into 3 separate sections: a sleeping chamber, a tiny stage, and a private, the rear chamber, which Danielle menacingly calls the Tower of. Furthermore, the front part serves as her living space where she reads and unwinds, and occasionally has private conversations while surrounded by bookcases containing a large number of symbolism-related books. Ancient philosophy and alchemy. The logistics assistant repeatedly mentioned Danielle spending hours meditating in front of an old round purple candle surrounding the mirror on its pedestal in the back room where Danielle. It became known as the Forbidden Ivy Dread, a traveling comedian, because it was segregated and closed off to outsiders who shared the stage with Danielle. In 2019, remembered hearing her whisper in a language he had never heard before. Previously, when I stood before the mirror, "I've worked with some of the in an anonymous interview," Ivy stated. But Danielle, the strangest artists, changed into a transsexual condition, and then, as though nothing had occurred, she fixed her hair, smiled, and performed as though it were just another. During the 2021 burlesque, a backstage technician ran the lights. The tour verified that Danielle was seen holding a little wooden figure while lighting candles around the mirror, muttering odd words, which the technician initially believed to be a personal custom. But some crew members became concerned about the bus's mystery after learning about the 2003 disappearance. Stated that Danielle would tell everyone to switch off all electronics and leave the area on new moon evenings. Bus for at least an hour, and when questioned about it, she just said, "I need its time to clean." No one could have predicted that she was chanting spells, but some people joked that it was superstition. That for the next 6 months, those hours of cleaning would play a crucial role in the FBI inquiry. The question of why a burlesque performer would require a triple-locked room with low lighting, and according to the FBI's preliminary report, the solution could be found in the activity's conformity to the 17th-century European antique liturgical band. Especially the spiral symbol in the rear compartment that was repeatedly inscribed actually Danielle's bus, which was once a traveling symbol of creativity, had started to change from a place for art to a ceremonial room, and upon entering the rear compartment that morning, the FBI discovered they found proof of something completely unusual in American reality, not simply staged props. However, the bus was more than just a vehicle for performances. It was the impetus behind an occasion that continues to this day. It's still not possible to completely explain why Danielle was the target of the FBI's raid on Danielle K's bus. Spontaneous action based on Department of Justice internal papers that were released, which the FBI had been keeping an eye on Danielle for about half a year before to starting the inquiry. And this wasn't because of any instances of American pickers or her actions in public, but from a case that was resolved almost 20 years ago. The enigmatic Ezra Lang, a researcher, vanished in New Orleans in April 2003. Ezra Lang was a symbolism expert who concentrated on pure symbolic systems connected to, according to documents submitted by the Louisiana State Police, the last time he visited Western medieval secret organizations was observed departing a covert event at the Gothic St. Hubert Church, which is notorious for its bizarre myths, and the only obvious remnant of mystic rites disappearance was a little drop of blood, a notepad with spiral symbols, and an eye, as well as a spill on the tile floor. The insignia that was eventually discovered on the mask inside Danielle K's bus was exactly the same. Due to insufficient evidence, the case file was closed in 2005. Nevertheless, in early 2024, the anonymous information was sent to the FBI about a video Danielle had uploaded in 2018. The film showed a notable burlesque performance in a Louisiana venue situated close to St. Hubert, and the date of the ceremony fell precisely on the 15th. One phrase in the report was highlighted in red ink on the anniversary of Lang's disappearance. "She is carrying on what he was unable to do." Finally, a contact to the FBI hotline from a person posing as a former Danielle's tour participant was even more concerning. This witness claims that the crew met Danielle in the bus's rear compartment, where she deposited a little black-clothed wooden figurine resting on a wooden table with a spiral carving. They heard her murmuring in the locked chamber that evening, "Tell me the thing Frank never knew." As a result of this disclosure, the FBI decided to reopen the Lang case and examine. They found that Danielle's whole 2003 to 2005 performance schedule was astounding. Around the time of Ezra Lang's abduction in April 2003, Danielle, then less than 800 meters from St. Petersburg, the Green Thread Theater had a variety show featuring an unidentified performer. Due to the confluence of time and location, the church was too not to be overlooked. The FBI also discovered that following that performance, Danielle departed New Orleans abruptly and didn't come back until 2018, the year that when a video of a burlesque ritual was captured. An odd pattern of behavior appeared with from then on. There will be a cyclical retreat every 15 years to look into this more. A task force was created under the code name Project Oculus, which was overseen by the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This task force's goal was to ascertain whether Danielle K. was engaged in any covert activities. Documents that have been preserved suggest that this society was called Oculus Veritas. Oculus Veritas, according to Vatican records, was a radical branch of, according to the ancient Hermetica tradition, the group performed ceremonies meant to release the mind's eye. Resonant memories via the activation of objects, sounds, and symbols. Certain rituals are said to cause widespread psychiatric disorders, self-destructive conduct, and forgetting. The spiral eye and mouthless are the main symbols connected to these rites. Mask and an unusual routing schematic, both of which emerged in Danielle's bus's rear compartment following after obtaining sufficient proof and evaluating the possible dangers at the federal level. The FBI filed a highly classified search order, which was sent to a special court, had a terrifying statement that the suspect might have items associated with mental health practices in a regulated lighting and electromagnetic environment. The bus was encircled on a calm early morning with no cameras, no reporters, and no explanation. But what was inside the back compartment when the door opened not only changed the direction of the examination, but also made everyone who knew Danielle face the reality that no one was ready to hear, not even a third time. Of what the FBI discovered at 6:12 inside the bus as soon as the outer perimeter was secured, a task squad of 2 federal investigators and 4 evidence experts entered to open Danielle K's bus's rear compartment, which is known as the ceremonial. Meanwhile, an FBI source told the Post in an internal memo that the search took more than 90 minutes. Simply to remove the seal without causing any damage to the little, fully soundproofed area that is barely 3.5 m in size. There were no windows or natural light, and the interior was lined with ebony wood and black leather. Only a weak yellow light hanging in the middle, illuminating an old wooden table adorned with patterns of concentric spirals. The sign of Oculus Veritas is one that symbolism scholars are familiar with. Agents had to stop their examination and summon a specialized evidence analysis team due to the first artifact, which was a mouthless mask with a ruby stone on the forehead made of an unknown metal and set into the box was lined with velvet and sealed with crimson wax that spiraled around. Similar to the original data, single-eye preliminary measurements at the location revealed weak magnetic radiation. Logging devices that were later examined by Department of Energy researchers. The elemental makeup of the alloys did not match any samples in the global material, according to the Analysis Division database, proving that this was much more than a prop. As 2 detectives were as I was taking pictures of the setting, a noise came from a compartment underneath the table and an old real estate broker's. The task force froze as a shaky voice echoed as the recorder started operating independently through the amplifier. "Frank, if anyone hears this, I'm not sure where I am in the room." Speech analysis software later verified that the mention of Frank's name chilled the group. An 82% victory over American Pickers co-host Frank Fritz, who had died the previous. Frank's speech and the tape's sound deteriorated around the 4th minute of the year, adding to the horror. Abruptly ceased to exist, yet a deeper, unnamed voice spoke in the 3 repetitions of the phrase, "VDN," which was described as being similar to Latin, but not exactly the same paradist. The basic translation is, "Before you look, be ready." Researchers found a computerized map with 7 GPS coordinates in the second drawer to the right of the room. When these coordinates were compared to unsolved crime scenes in the United States between 1998 and 2023, they discovered that 5 spots identical locations for mass suicides, disappearances, or inexplicable psychological occurrences. Mike Wolfe, the co-founder of American Pickers, lived just 2 miles away from the coordinates, moving the examination using a theory based on rituals. Furthermore, in a brown luggage that was opened with a biometric lock and a potential personal connection, financial records were discovered by FBI agents using fingerprints they had previously obtained. Connected to Orchid Vale LLC, a shell corporation that is registered at B. This business has been receiving transfers on a regular basis from an Iowa-based affiliate that shared a previous address with Mike Wolfe's commercial division. The transfers lacked detailed memoranda and utilized payment references instead, which included spirals. A cryptographer later clarified the sign 7.02. That 7.0202 was the last stage of the moon's cycle, and 7.0202 was a right cycle that was integrated into the roof panel of the 3 wooden-bound notebooks that were handwritten and encrypted were found in the team's compartment. A terrifying statement in red ink was scribbled on the opening page of the first volume, while the decoding process was still in progress. Heard it, and nobody was permitted to listen in on the FBI sending the items to 3 expert units for additional analysis. the University of Chicago's Center for Symbolism Analysis, the Department of Unusual Psychological Studies at the Department of Energy, and the Crozer Task Force of Ritual Objects at Interpol's separation. The case was moved beyond the simple possession of odd artifacts to the examination of under UV light, a planned mystical activity that could pose psychological concerns to the community. Spiral characters concealed behind the metal layer and imperceptible to the unaided eye were exposed by the mouthless mask. Motifs matched the engraving on a 17th-century oculus ceremonial stone found in France's Valley of Lawyers. Veritas Manuel Rios, a professor at Complutense University of Madrid, clarified that the mask's shape follows the golden ratio, and the engraving's depth is accurate to the micron and beyond. In terms of the recording, the FBI's AI analysis verified an 82% match, which is what one should anticipate from common stage props. Although the voice matched Frank Fritz's by 6%, the research also found anomalous harmonic vibrations indicating the presence of a second layer of sound. A specialist in signal processing from Stanford remarked, "This is a frequency that has been set to be identified at particular times. This is consistent with the technician's observation that around 3 a.m. on new. Another important finding is that moon nights are a time that is typically regarded as neutral in rituals." Was a hard drive concealed inside the bus's frame housing the encrypted GPS map? According to the FBI's assessment submitted to the Department of Justice, these 7 spots that are both recurrent and the sites of previous disappearances. Despite the fact that the media has not yet seen any official leaked documents, nodes of unexplained aberrant activity are the coordinates are on property that was formerly owned by Mike Wolf's relatives. Wolf has put his social media accounts on private and denied any interviews since the raid on Orchid Vale LLC. Registered to Danielle K., and it was awarded 8 grants between 2017 and 2022. Riverstone Holdings LLC transfers. Riverstone was established by Iowa investors, such as a Season 1 American Pickers fan. Ideal Creative Management Consulting is the name of the company that goes with the transfers. However, no significant documentation exists to back up any actions taken during a Virginia classified press conference, according to an expert. "These items are not just historical or artistic, they are also vehicles," said a representative from the Center for Anomalous Psychology. For transferring awareness, as though someone were attempting to manipulate someone else's memories. A simulation in space showed that people who were exposed to the mask felt a sharp increase in heart rate and a noticeable decrease in alpha waves. Responses to the FBI that are indicative of a pre-hypnotic state instantly prohibited all evidence-granting internal contact for 72 hours. The mask and tape were identified as being accessible exclusively via remote interfaces. By now, the public was starting to understand how Level 3A cognition affects items. That this tale was about what scientists call obsolete energy rather than just a rebellious artist broadcasting a relic discovered in a reality TV star's bust that was never intended to exist in the 21st century. The question of whether these items can actually influence the mind is now a pressing one. What Danielle did with them and for whom the FBI included in the examination and categorization of the confiscated. The attention swiftly turned from Danielle K's bust to a brown bag that was concealed. This was not your typical travel suitcase. Located in the back compartment behind the futon bed, was protected by a biometric lock and strengthened with a titanium alloy frame. This simply required a fingerprint confirmed by the sample already gathered during the search to open. Nevertheless, the lock opened right away, proving that Danielle was the true owner of the suitcase. What do you suppose is concealed in Danielle K's enigmatic suitcase? Please share your opinions in the comments section and remember to like. Please subscribe to our channel and share so that we can find the next shocking. Federal financial investigators requested that the workspace be encrypted right away because of the secret that was there. Initially, A number of disjointed financial records were discovered, including those of frequent transactions from 2017 to 2022. These transactions took place between Riverstone Holdings LLC and another organization that Danielle herself represented, Orchid Vale LLC, and was registered with BICE. In total, 8 transfers occurred, each with a range of between $14,000 and $38,000. Finance claims that the transaction note oddly omitted the customary descriptions. Records Riverstone Holdings LLC was an Iowa-registered company that had kept an office at the same address as the first branch that Mike Wolfe had financed. Co-founder of American Pickers, despite the fact that Mike's name was not listed on any in the luggage, there were documents, a supplemental agreement with the signature MW matching Wolfe's public signature from this 2009 contract, which was named Creative Management Consultancy, did not include any services and lacked documentation of any family activities. Nonetheless, there were scribbled notes in another file within the suitcase that the mouthless mask with the code was mentioned in one of the ancient symbols that were organized like a ceremonial notebook. Has C3.14 stamped on it. Interpol's declassified records regarding the Oculus Veritas Society 1 mention the same name. The annotation explains that the ritual connected to this mask must occur when there is no reflection of light. Interpreted as when the mirror is concealed among the objects at the bottom of the box or during the new moon phase. Was a little, delicate, wooden-bound diary with leather straps that was Danielle's private journal, composed in a blend of traditional Latin English, and the diary had sections that were highlighted in red ink. Frank heard it, but no one is intended to. The special investigative team was motivated to look into the relationship between the recording on the facts and information on Frank Fritz, especially the peculiar situation spectrum analysis of the tape pertaining to his voice on his last days revealed low-frequency echo sounds, which are a common method for triggering latent memories in frequency programming. This finding matched a journal layout showing layered sound flow intended to awaken pictures that have never previously published in the magazine, and the journal included 12 pages of material, written using ink infused with metal that changes color when exposed to UV light. "The past does not die, it is only re-encoded we speak," was one of the noteworthy quotes. Not because the mirror only opens once the observer has seen oneself in it, and memories cannot withstand the light. From financial records to rituals, after reviewing the signed consulting agreement and the directions, the FBI determined that this was more than just a performance by an artist. Danielle's daily private labor was conducted within a complex financial and symbolic framework where the memories and the coincidence of time and place were transferred instead of money. And the investigating team chose to categorize since the intricate encryption was too accurate to be regarded as random.